It's good to have you join us on the program from the National Assembly. I am Mitaire Ikben. Parliament is still on recess from plenary. However, this does not impede other legislative engagements which lawmakers have been attending to. In line with the open parliament policy of the 10th House of Representatives, Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, recently hosted a cross-section of social media influencers at an interactive session on the theme Smart Cities and Ethical Media. The essence is to find a balance between freedom of speech and national interest. On the program today, we bring to you that citizens' engagement with social media influencers.
It is a distinct privilege to address you at the Speaker's New Media Exchange 2025, an unprecedented engagement designed to formalize a dialogue between the Nigerian Parliament and the dynamic community of digital actors. Today's session marks a seminal moment. It is the first structured interaction with social media influencers at the highest legislative level, recognizing their significant contributions to the democratic enterprise and shaping national discourse. In a nation whose demographic composition is overwhelmingly youthful and where digital platforms have become central to information exchange, advocacy, and civic engagements, it is both strategic and necessary to forge this partnership. The significance of this collaboration is underscored by compelling data. Nigeria's digital landscape has expanded rapidly, with approximately 38.7 million active social media users as of 2025, representing 16.3% of the national population and marking a 5.3% increase from the previous year. Platforms such as Facebook and TikTok dominate usage, with more than 38.7 million and 37.4 million users, respectively. While YouTube, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter, also commanding substantial followings. Research further indicates that 94.87% of Nigerian internet users follow online influencers, with nearly half engaging with more than 10 influencers regularly. Moreover, Nigerians rank 5th globally in average daily time spent on social media, dedicating approximately 3 hours and 23 minutes each day. These figures attest to the unrivaled capacity of digital platforms to shape public opinion, influence consumer behavior, and drive civic engagements. It is therefore evident that meaningful partnership with the digital community is not optional, but essential to building a more participatory democracy in Nigeria. The legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives rests on a fundamental commitment to deepen public participation in governance. Our aspiration is to build a parliament that is accessible, transparent, responsive, and firmly anchored in the aspirations of all Nigerians. To this end, we have expanded channels of engagement through live stream plenary sessions, constituency dialogues, the annual Open National Assembly Week, dedicated both to access and inclusion, and now purposeful engagement with the digital ecosystem. Beyond these initiatives, the House is pursuing reforms that foreground the rights of persons living with disabilities, promote the inclusion of marginal communities, and advance the political participation of women through constitutional amendment processes. Our democracy must be measured not merely by its procedures, but by its inclusiveness. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are pivotal agents in the contemporary information environment. Your platforms serve as a vital conduit for citizen engagements, policy interpretation, and the cultivation of public consciousness. The House has demonstrated its commitments to innovation and youth empowerment through legislations such as the Nigerian Startup Act, which fosters an enabling environment for technology entrepreneurs, and the Nigerian Data Protection Act, which safeguards digital rights. We continue to uphold the Freedom of Information Act as an instrument for transparency. We have expanded opportunities for youth inclusion through initiatives like the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, the biannual youth town hall meetings, and enhanced budgetary support for youth development programs in the 2025 budget. Furthermore, the establishment of the House Committee on Youth and the House Committee on Youth in Parliament underscores our resolve to institutionalize youth participation in our National Assembly activities. Today's engagement under the theme Smart Cities and Ethical Media, navigating the role of policy in national development, invites a critical reflection on the intersection of governance, innovation, and responsible communication. Our discussions will interrogate issues such as the legislative response to digital responsibility, strategies for countering disinformation, the promotion of national values within the digital space, and the role of public policy in shaping smart infrastructure and sports development. A highlight of this exchange will be the participation of a cross-section of young Nigerians in a simulated legislative process. Through this exercise, we intend to make the parliamentary process more transparent and relatable, affirming that governance must be both participatory and comprehensive. We are not unmindful of the challenges posed by misinformation, digital security threats, and the misuse of online platforms. Nonetheless, our approach shall remain rooted in dialogue, education, and constructive engagement, rather than censorship or coercion. Today, I extend an earnest invitation for enduring collaboration. It is crucial that we work together to strengthen public understanding of governance, to build resilience against misinformation, to provide civic education, and to harness digital platforms for national cohesion and progress. By forging this alliance between Parliament and the digital community, we are moving closer to the ideal of an informed, inclusive, and resilient democracy. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to commend your presence here today and your unwavering contributions to the democratic process. It is now my honor to declare the Speaker's New Media Exchange 2025 officially open. May God bless you all. may God bless the National Assembly, may God bless the social media influencers, may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much.
The Speaker is standing ovation. And keep it that way. Thank you very much. Please take your seats.
Since the transition to democratic rule in 1999, Nigeria has experienced several forms of suppression of the freedom of expression, despite constitutional guarantees and several international conventions that Nigeria has signed up to. The federal government banned Twitter use in Nigeria from June 2021 to January 2022 for taking down the tweets of President Buhari. Citizens are often arrested for protesting against government actions and policies, and the violent suppression of the peaceful NSAS protests was, to my mind, an attack on the freedom of expression of Nigerian youth. I want to quote His Royal Majesty, the Emir of Kano, when he said, when you have brought me all this far to talk, you must let me talk. So I'll plead the indulgence of the Speaker and members of the audience to just quickly run through the rest of my paper. I was told I had 10 minutes. In 2015, the National Assembly enacted the Cyber Crimes Act, and Section 24(1)A of that Act states that any person who knowingly or intentionally sends a message or other matter by means of a computer system or network that is grossly offensive, pornographic, or indecent, obscene, or menacing has committed an offense and shall be liable to punishment. Section 24(1)B was even worse, because he said if you send any messages for the purpose of causing annoyance or inconvenience, among other things, you've also committed an offense. So if I send this paper now to anyone, and for any reason it caused offense or annoyance to the Speaker, I'm liable to be arrested. However, the ECOWAS court ruled in 2012 that that section was arbitrary, vague, and repressive, and ordered Nigeria to repeal it. The National Assembly repealed it with the Cybercrime Amendment Act of 2024. The Obscene Publications Act of 1961 is still in force, as is the Official Secrets Act of 1962, which was not repealed by the Freedom of Information Act 2011. The Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022 is still in force, in addition to laws on criminal defamation, sedition, and libel. For instance, Section 373 of the Criminal Code makes it an offense to say anything that exposes another person to hatred, contempt, or ridicule. And this section has been used and abused by the police, basically to harass people who have a different opinion from big men. On the other hand, despite Immanuel Kant saying that citizens have a moral duty to use their freedom of expression responsibly, not every citizen has been responsible, particularly in their use of social media. The anonymity that being online can provide enables irresponsible citizens to publish fake and inciting news. And that's why some attempts have been made to introduce a social media bill that would constrain some of that freedom of speech. Okay. So the question remains, which is the question we've had from the beginning of time. How do we balance freedom of expression against national interest, especially in this era of fake news and divisive incitement? I must pause here to commend Mr. Speaker for instituting this Speaker's New Media Exchange 2025. And I think that instituting this platform itself starts to answer that question of how we should balance expression of interest, expression of freedom of expression, and national interest. Do we need a new social media act? My answer is no. I think we have enough laws that we can use to constrain hate speech and fake news. Apart from the Cyber Crimes Act, we have acts of the National Communications Commission, the National Broadcasting Commission, Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, and other agencies that can be used to regulate free speech. As an example, a recent song by Idris Abdul Karim was banned by the NBC for reasons that are difficult to justify. One is acutely aware of the damaging effects of fake news and hate speech. The Rwanda genocide that led to the deaths of some 1 million people was greatly influenced by the use of media, particularly the dissemination of propaganda and hate speech. So, what could we do? I recommend 6 things. I think we should strengthen the collaboration between the National Assembly, government agencies and media organizations and civil society to tackle fake news. And this event that the Speaker has put together is a very good start, which should be broadened to include a wider stakeholder base, not just people that are supporting the government in power. Governments in Nigeria have traditionally been woeful at communicating with citizens. Government communication is often reactive, late, and incomplete, leading to a trust deficit with citizens. I recommend that both the executive and the legislature should do more to be proactive, open, and speedy in providing information and engaging with the public. This will help to curb fake news. Governments, including the National Assembly, should proactively encourage fact-checking by the media, civil society, and citizens. We should embrace artificial intelligence and machine learning, which can also help to detect and prevent the spread of misinformation. We should promote professionalism and self-regulation by traditional media organizations and engage the owners of these platforms, such as Facebook, X, and Instagram, to take more seriously their regulation of their own platforms. We should repeal the part of the criminal code that allows for criminal defamation and revise and update libel laws and procedures to make it easier to sue for libel and obtain relief. At the moment, many see suing for libel as a waste of time because of how long it takes for the courts to come to view.
And I want to speak to Mr. Speaker today that cities shape citizens. And we need to build more of smart cities. There are 3 things that I believe very seriously that builds a person. Number 1 is the environment. And I believe that environment constitutes 50% of what makes every one of us. The number 2, I believe, is character. And I know that in environment, characters are shaped. But these days, our environment is becoming more frivolous, that people are using ideologies from different parts of the world to develop themselves or their children by themselves. Our national orientation agencies need to be up and running more and more to see that there's a lot more we need to do about developing our citizens. So I would say character will culminate about 40% of our development. And I would say, and this is arguable, that 10% is knowledge. But what we are doing in this generation is that we're doing almost 80% of knowledge. We send our children to school, but knowledge is not enough. I believe we need to build environments. We need to build community. We need to build centers where our children can burn their energies. By 2050, it is believed that 70% of Nigeria will be urbanized. How then do we plan the cities? How do we plan these areas? To the point that I was looking through my area in Lekki yesterday, and almost everywhere I see is only house development, house development. Rarely do you see anywhere where young people can develop. We need a bill in the House of Representatives and in the Senate that now is particular about where our environment, where young people can develop their talent. Today we celebrate young people like Victor Osimhen, Victor Boniface, and the rest of them. But when they tell their story, we should be ashamed. It doesn't have to be everybody who becomes great from our country that has to come from the slum. We can actually build cities and infrastructure. When you travel to France or you travel to the UK or the US, now what they do, they don't even build bricks any longer. They bring in like a tent into a place. So every constituency has these tents where young children can learn basketball, where young children can learn football, where young children can learn to play snookers. And I think we need, I'm recommending here, if possible, I'm just going to jump because of time, that we need politic shift in 3 areas. Number 1, Smart City Incentive Act. We need to come up with a bill that eventually becomes an act that supports tech-driven gardening, houses, tents, canopies, all over Nigeria, where our young people can be trained in different kind of sports. This will help them to burn their energy, not just on, what do we call it on social media again? When we fight one another, is dragging. Not just using our energies for dragging, we can use our energy for a lot more development. Number 2, youth and sport infrastructural bill. National funds should be made available to maintain sport hubs in local government areas. Imagine that all the local governments, about 7,000 some that we have in this country, imagine that we can have a sports center in those areas. We can better develop our youth. And finally, I'm recommending Digital Urban Planning Act, maintaining smart city blueprints in smart level planning, meaning that every community that has been planned, that is going to be planned, that has not been planned, we need to sit down again around a policy, around a bill or an act that will reshape our community. I want to thank you once again for this opportunity to give the speech, and I pray that these recommendations will become implementation. Thank you. It is wonderful.
And I have just 5 different areas on building fields, building future, why infrastructure policy should shape the soul of Nigeria. And there's a famous African proverb which says, a city without a playground is a city without a future. In Nigeria, without smart sporting facilities, in Nigeria without smart cities, in the real sense of the word, is a Nigeria without a soul and a Nigeria without a future. And this truth is old as civilization itself. When we speak of smart cities, most people do not think of sports infrastructure. And we can see it from the bills that they passed, we can see it in the policies that they push. Where is the sports infrastructure? Even if it's mass housing, where do you expect the children or the parents that are putting in those houses to have some places to move around, to play, to live their own lives, so that they can contribute better to the country? We're speaking about hope, and this kind of hope is hope that is going to be engineered into concrete, into fiber optic cables. We're talking about our identity, our prosperity, and we must build this brick by brick, policy by policy, advocacy to you, advocacy to ourselves, and all that. And if we do get it right, we'll build this Nigeria and India to survive. My first question, which I wrote down, is infrastructure natural character? Or let me correct it, let me write it down. Is smart infrastructure national character? Yes, it is. Infrastructure is intelligence embedded into the physical world. It is not just steel, it is not just physical buildings that we see, it's not low-cost housing, it's not the bridges and all that. That's what infrastructure is. It's broadband running through every neighborhood. It's multi-purpose sporting venues. It's community sporting venues. You know, Dublin as community hubs. Dublin as places our young people can go and work remotely and contribute to those policies that Mr. President is putting in place. It's energy efficient sporting facilities. Thankfully, we have a number of members of the House who own sporting clubs already, you know, who are building the next talent of sports people for us as a country. And Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing the National Broadband Plan, which also seeks to ensure that there is broadband in 774 local governments of this country. The question we should be asking you, the question we expect the members of the House to ask agency heads is how they're integrating these policies into the long-term future of young people. You can build everything you're building now, you can put all the right policies in place without taking care of us in a way that secures our future for the next 50 years. We will fail as a nation. So that's something that we must put in mind when we're talking. Sorry, it's a bit hot here. Can I get a tissue or something? Thank you. You know, and things like the National Smart City Initiative, the renewal of cities are promising investments. But the smartness of the city, like I wrote in my questions, is it's not the number of sensors it installs, it's the quality of opportunities it can create. And smart cities must be built with 3 questions in mind. 1, does that infrastructure make life better for the ordinary Nigerian? Does it unleash new industries, especially for our youth? And does it connect our communities and not divide us? You know, and this is why I might deviate from the first speaker and also Mr. Speaker, where it says we do not need proper regulation for a space that we are lagging behind in terms of regulation. During the last National Assembly, when they tried to pass the social media bill, I was in the private sector then, and I was monitoring comments and everything. 70% or so of the comments that were coming up were from sponsored pages. And we looked at the times that a lot of this content were coming up. Many of them came up between the times of 12 midnight to 4, 5 a.m. By 8 a.m., when the full mass of Nigerians have come up to start challenging these bills, the people who put up a lot of those comments deleted it. And the same thing happened during NSAS. We see the flow of money, sponsoring things that, you know, affect our sovereignty as a nation. Being sponsored, and permit me to speak freely, please. You know, being sponsored by third parties, sponsored by, you know, other countries in the name of freedoms. But we also know freedoms are not very absolute. I might never get the opportunity to speak to members of the House or the Senate again, but I think this is a very good time to do so. So before you come up with such a policy next time, educate, let people know the why. When we were having the protest last year, you know, people were saying, oh, this is what happened in the West. Then it happened in the Western country. What happened? Till today, they are picking people from their houses for posts made online. That is the reality of a space that is totally unregulated. We must put in some measures to ensure that things don't go out of hand. Every day we see Yorubas fighting Igbos, Igbos fighting Yorubas, Hausas fighting non-Hausas and co. Nigeria is one country, and we should be indivisible under the Constitution. Where is it? So, one thing that can help us change this is sports. Sports must be hardwired into everything we do as a country. You know, a stadium is not a place to just play football. A stadium, for instance, no matter how small it is, guarantees the health of young people who use them. You have healthier young people going to work. You have healthier young people doing what they love to do best. Imagine a Nigeria where every Nigerian urban renewal project includes a free youth sports academy, a track and field arena, you know, wired with 5G, where they can go walk after they finish on the field, and a smart gym in every city. You would have more 100-level Odol winners. You'd have more Nigerians playing professional amateur basketball and football. And I'm happy that I'm seeing some young people also putting, you know, advisory services in place. I urge every legislator here, everybody in our space, every builder, every private sector person, every dreamer in Nigeria, we must build policy frameworks that bake in sports and smartness from the foundation up. We must demand that sports infrastructure is seen as economic infrastructure and not entertainment. That's a mistake the older generation looks at when they look at us. And finally, we must invest in smart cities where youthful energy is not just contained, but channeled, scaled, and celebrated. When history looks back, let it not be that, oh, they didn't inherit their future. We want to tell them that you helped us to engineer that future for young people. We don't want to hear that Nigeria didn't drift into prosperity like many of the Asian countries have. We want to hear that, oh, you helped us to build sporting facilities and fields where the champions of tomorrow start to grow. You know, let us all write this destiny in a way that builds us fields and builds us futures. Thank you very much.
The young ones also have a role to play in national building. And so it's a great engagement so far. I'm excited with what I've listened to, and I'm hoping that we'll begin to see policies becoming actions and new ideas are being factored into new policies for a better and a smart Nigeria. You know, and like I said, our digital place needs to be sanitized, because the misinformation that we allow to thrive today will become the fact that our children will know tomorrow, despite the fact that it is not the truth. And so we must be very careful what we allow to continue to be on our media space. And maybe there is a lot of sensitization that needed to be done, most especially from the National Orientation Agency, where people can fact-check news and hold on to that which is actually true.
I'm a sports person, and I see how invested a lot of young people are in sports, and all they need is a bit of encouragement. So if the government is actively thinking about introducing sports to our cities, I think it's a fantastic idea. Because personally, like I said, I'm into sports. I organize tournaments for female footballers, and I see how enthusiastic they are about these tournaments. So I think it's good. It shows that interest in grooming the young ones.
I have been very satisfied by the new media exchange. I think that it's a brilliant idea. I think that for once someone is listening to what is going on the social media, and it's interesting that it's coming from the speaker. It means that there is an understanding that traditional media seems to be giving way for the social media, and these days, if you're not paying attention to what is going on in the social media, you might as well burn your nation before you know what is happening. And so for me, I think that this is a brilliant initiative by the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, and I think that the conversation should continue, right? As we speak today with about 38 million people having access to the social media, they're not the kind of people to ignore. And if what they say is a lie, and it turns out that people believe it, as they say, a lie runs amok before the truth gets to where it pants. So if the social media influencers are not getting the right type of information, you know, and understanding that there is a responsibility they have, not just to themselves, but also to Nigeria as a whole, and of course to the world, right? Then we will have a problem. So it's a good thing that this new media exchange is happening. It's a good thing that the speaker is keeping it in focus, and it's a good thing that the influencers are here too. I would love this engagement to go around the country if it's possible, because we have influencers across, you know, states. And so if we have this conversation in different communities, perhaps powered by the speaker, put together by the National Orientation Agency, so that the average influencer, everybody who has a phone today and can speak or can type, is an influencer. So we need to speak to these people one-on-one and help them to understand the responsibility of having access to the world. For you to influence people, it's not just about influencing, it's also about influencing them with the right type of things, you know, because today you're young, you can tweet and, you know, make all the social media posts that doesn't matter. But will you take the same position in another 10 years? And unfortunately, the internet never forgets. So whatever it is that you do today, right, could come back and bite you in another 10, 15 years. And so it's very important that these young people understand this. It's very important that people understand that the media is a venerable and a powerful tool for social change. So if you're going to be there, if you're going to be doing anything with the media, you have to be responsible with it.
And that was when a cross-section of social media influencers met with Speaker Tajuddin Abbas at the National Assembly. Still ahead on the program, we have highlights of the House of Representatives plenary of March 13, 2025, where lawmakers adopted a report of the House Committee on Finance on the 4 tax reform bills, and the adoption of that report set the stage for the eventual passage of the tax bills by the House of Representatives.
The first report to be considered is that of the Committee of Finance on a bill for an act to provide for the assessment, collection of, and accounting for revenue accruing to the Federation, federal, states, and local governments, prescribe the powers and functions of tax authorities and for related matters. It's my pleasure to invite the Chairman, Committee on Finance, to give us synopsis of this particular bill.
Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, it is with great honor and responsibility that I lay the report. I request for consideration of this report. This report is a summary of the extensive review of the bills carried out by members of the House Committee, the Special House Committee of Finance, following the public hearing. The first bill, Mr. Chairman, the Nigerian tax bill. This bill is purposed to be the core legislation detailing the tax obligations of every taxpayer in respect of his income, profits, instruments, or gains. To achieve this purpose, the bill seeks to repeal and amend the current tax laws and consolidate all existing tax laws into a single, comprehensive, and simplified piece of legislation. This approach is expected to eliminate ambiguities, ensure consistency, and provide clarity for taxpayers and tax administration alike. 2, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill. The Tax Administration Bill focuses on the processes for assessment, collection of, and accounting for revenue accruing to all tiers of government. The bill prescribes the powers and functions of the tax authorities, as well as introduces new provisions aimed at ensuring hitch-free tax administration processes. The Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill. The bill repeals the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act and establishes the Nigerian Revenue Service, an agency saddled with the responsibility of collecting all federal taxes, whilst collaborating with other revenue agencies across the 3 tiers of government. The functions, powers, funding, etc. of the Nigerian Revenue Service are elucidated in the Nigerian Revenue Establishment Bill. And finally, Mr. Chairman, the Joint Revenue Board Bill. The Joint Revenue Tax Board is rebranded as the Joint Revenue Board pursuant to the provisions of this bill, while retaining its functions and powers as is. The bill establishes the Office of the Tax Ombudsman to allow for alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, thus making the Tax Appeal Tribunal and the subsequent appellate courts a final dispute resolution. Mr. Chairman, sir, if I want to start on the Nigerian tax bill, which is on page 3 of the document.
I thought, Honorable Chair, you are just to restrict yourself to the first bill. After consideration of the first bill, you will now give synopsis of the second bill, and then the third bill, and then the fourth bill, so that it will flow in that manner.
Thank you very much.
Rather than compressing all the 4 together.
Thank you for your guidance. These are amendments which we worked on and adopted at the committee level. So on page 3. Proposal to replace the word ecclesiastical with religious, which was what our stakeholders preferred. The word religious is used instead of ecclesiastical, which is seen as if it is purely one religion. There was a call for deletion of the proposed reintroduction of inheritance tax. Inheritance tax, under the guise of taxation of family income, as this oversteps divine jurisdiction, which places inheritance matters within the scope of Sharia and customary laws of the North and South, respectively. So in the amendment, the inheritance tax is defined as inheritance before distribution. Cannot be taxed before distribution. Reduction of VAT rate to 5% or alternatively maintain the current rate of 7.5%.
Honorable Chinda, please can you approach the chair?
The committee adopted the 7.5%. Recommendations for the reinstatement of contributions towards NASENI, NIDA, and a call to ensure continuous funding from the development levy. This, of course, was retained without sunset clauses. Suggestions to name NIPC as the relevant authority in respect of priority sectors and company operating therein. This, of course, was amended and adopted. Appeal to reinstate the need for a certificate of acceptance of fixed assets, CAFA, to claim capital allowance as historically issued by the Industrial Inspectorate Department of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. This is important as the bill eliminated these particular provisions, which what it means is that if you are a businessman and you procure equipment which you want to use for capital allowance, the Federal Ministry of Trade will go to your factory or offices and inspect and ensure that you have put that in use, and then issue you a certificate of capital allowance. And this is retained. I mean, this is brought into the bill before you. Proposal for an introduction of a 1.5% service charge based on the economic development tax credit for companies operating in the priority sector. On page 4, suggestions of additional sectors, activities to be included in the priority list, such as poultry, fish, meat processing, construction of utility projects, residential building, music production, publishing and distribution, telecommunications, etc., was also included in the bill before you. A recommendation to exclude vessels as a ground for creating permanent establishment for non-resident shipping companies, of course, was not allowed. Proposal to resolve the conflict between the proposed NRS, Nigerian Revenue Service, and NUPRC in respect of collection of royalty for oil and gas companies in favor of the service. This is the royalty is seen as tax, and so the Nigerian Revenue Service is given the responsibility to collect all taxes in the law, and so NUPRC will be purely in charge of operations and collection, and their own cost of operations is not amended. I mean, it's not touched at all. There was a recommendation to remove the provisions purporting to delete the exemption and incentive clauses of NEPSA and Free Trade Zones Act. The Free Trade Zones Act. That is to revert to the current provisions of the NEPSA and Free Trade Zone Act, as well as current practice of the enterprises within the free trade zones. Mr. Chairman, sir, honorable colleagues, this particular issue generated a lot of debates, and the point is this. On this floor, we created free trade zone laws, which says that anybody who wants to export or investors can have a free trade zone. But this free trade zone must be solely for export. in order to enhance revenue into the country. However, with practice, they have seen that those who have free trade zone licenses have used it to bring in even luxury vehicles and producing products that are manufactured outside free trade zone. In other words, if this chamber, for example, is a free trade zone, and we manufacture toiletries or whatever here, you are expected to export it, not to sell outside this chamber within Nigeria. If you sell outside this chamber within Nigeria, it means you are competing with other companies on the other side, what you call custom territory, who paid the normal taxes, paid the normal dues. Meanwhile, on your own, in your free trade zone, you don't pay all those taxes. So the practice now is that Nigerians they take free trade zone license and produce within free trade zone and export to Nigerian territory, but they don't want to pay taxes. So we have, in this recommendation, limited them to 25% as per the old act. Say, look, whatever you produce in your free trade zone, you can only export to Nigeria territory 25% of your production. The remaining 75% must be exported out of the country. And you must show, for you to qualify for tax exemption, you must show evidence of export and your income. Wherever you deposit it, the system does not care. But you must show that you exported it before you benefit. If not, your 100% will be taxed accordingly. I think that's the summary of that particular bill. And of course, let me point out to say that the bill itself has, if passed, of course, has repealed all these companies' income tax, which was enacted in 1979, the value-added tax in 1993, personal income tax 1993, federal inland revenue, if we pass that bill, 2007, capital gains tax 1967, Stamp Duties Act 1939, Casino Act in 1965, Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Act, and then, of course, Industrial Development Income Tax Relief 1971, Petroleum Profit Tax Act 1959, and, of course, Venture Capital Incentives of 1993. Mr. Chairman, let me start for the consideration of this first bill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for an elaborate brief on the first bill before us, which is the Nigerian tax bill. And I'm sure since this document has been circulated since yesterday or day before yesterday, at least electronically, we have taken time to go through all the clauses one after the other, so that we don't need to waste too much time on each clause reading before we give our consent. So with your kind permission, if there is no any issue with the brief given by the chairman, for us to proceed from clause 1 and see how far we can go on this particular bill. So clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10, clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, clause 20, clause 21 to 30, clause 31 to 40, clause 41 to 50, clause 51 to 60, clause 61 to 70, clause 71 to 80, clause 81 to 90, clause 91 to 100, clause 101 to 110, clause 111 to 120, clause 121 to 130, clause 131 to 140, clause 141 to 150, clause 151 to 160, clause 161 to 170, clause 180 to 181, clause 181 to 182, 182 to 183,
Carry everything.
184 to 185, 186 to 187, 188 to 189, 189 to 190, 191 to 200, 200 to 210, 210 to 220, 221, 222, 223.
Carry it.
The schedules, explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. Honorable colleagues, the second report to be considered is that of the Committee of Finance on a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act number 13/2007 and to enact the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill to establish Nigerian Revenue Service charged with powers of assessment, collection of and accounting for revenue accruable to the government of the Federation and for related matters. At this point, it's my pleasure to invite the chairman of the Committee on Finance to give us a synopsis of this very important bill.
I will just summarize, Mr. Chairman, with the synopsis, which says that the Joint Tax Board is rebranded. Establishment. Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, Mr. Chairman, 2025. This bill repeals the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act and establishes the Nigerian Revenue Service as agency saddled with the responsibility of collecting all federal laws while collaborating with other revenue agencies across the three tiers of government. The functions, powers, funding, etc. of the Revenue Service are elucidated in the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill. Mr. Chairman, the only major inputs we added, Mr. Chairman, is presently, as constituted, the Federal Inland Revenue Service have what they call coordinating directors. They have 8 coordinating directors, and they are all civil servants, and they are appointed internally by the chairman of the Revenue Service. We believe that this does not allow for proper checks and balances. And so, Mr. Chairman, we recommended that if the House do approve, the directors should be 6 directors from 1 per region. The directorates will be 6 and one from each of our geopolitical zone. And we also added, Mr. Chairman, because we know that a geopolitical zone, for example, Northwest, they have 7 states. And we ensure that there is fairness and there's federal character principle even at that level. And that if Mr. President wishes to appoint these directors from these directorates, he must follow alphabetical order, so that every state within that geopolitical zone will one time or the other have a director representing them. And of course, Mr. Chairman, as executive directors. Mr. Chairman, we also added that each state should have 1 member on the board of the Nigerian Revenue Service, because it's now collecting revenue on behalf of the Federation, no longer just because of federal government. I think these are the major issues that we allow my colleagues, Sada or anybody to add. My leaders are also here. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
I can recollect that day before yesterday, I had cause to call all of you, the ad hoc committee comprising of 36 members, 1 representing each state, and 6 geopolitical zonal caucus leaders, 2 regional leaders, and some few experts among us who are very versatile on tax, law, and finance matters, to meet look at the report you submitted. We asked questions, and it appears at the end of the meeting that every member, without exception, every member was satisfied with the job done. Everyone was carried along. Everyone made his contribution. Everyone collected inputs from his state and brought before the committee for consideration, and everything was considered. So I believe that what we have, honorable colleagues here, for those who are not members of this particular ad hoc committee, is the handwork of not a few, but of all. 36 members plus the regional and zonal caucus leaders. 100% consent and assent of all of them. I've never seen in my history here in the National Assembly where a report is endorsed 100% unanimously by all members except this particular assignment. So I just want to assure you that what you have before us is a reflection of Nigeria, Nigeria's interest, Nigeria's agitations, and Nigeria's inputs into what they feel should be the revised tax bills for Nigeria. So for those who just received this report maybe a day or two ago, I sincerely hope you have gone through and you have seen the good work that has been done by the committee and you are satisfied. If you have any reservation on any of the clauses, please feel free as we are going through to raise your hand for me to recognize you to tell us what you are not comfortable with. But just to put on record, all your representatives of the states have participated and they have all assented to this particular document before us. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much all the members of the ad hoc committee for the good job you have done. God bless you. Nigeria will record you in the right side of history. Thank you so much. So, honorable colleagues, without any waste of time, I refer you to the document Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2025, where we have only 22 clauses affected by this review. And those clauses that have been amended are clauses 1, clauses 4, clauses 7, clauses 8, clauses 10, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22, 23, 28, 31, 36, 38, 39, 41, and 42. Those are the clauses that have been amended in this particular bill. So with your kind permission, we go through one after the other. Clause 1, clause 4, clause 7, clause 8, clause 10, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, clause 22, clause 23, clause 28, clause 31, clause 36, clause 38, clause 39, clause 41, clause 42. The schedule, explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. For the harmonization, coordination, and settlement of disputes arising from revenue administration in Nigeria and for related matters. At this point, it's my pleasure to invite the chairman of the Committee on Finance to give a synopsis of this particular bill. The chair, please.
Our members, to page 6 of this document, which shows the only five 5 issues were raised and amended, and thus amendments made to the Joint Revenue Board Bill includes the following. Clause 25, qualification of a tax appeal commissioner. This section was amended by deleting the proposed paragraph C, currently contained in the FRS. It is the committee's opinion that showing capacity in the management of trade or business is not a standard qualification criteria for a tribunal commissioner, and as such expunged that provision. We believe that it should be more, and we said the person must be legally funds of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. That is the alternative dispute resolution that we seek to have in our system. Where is the fund going to come from? We do not want the Nigerian Revenue Service to be paying so that there will be no bias, because it's supposed to settle disputes between Nigerian Revenue Service and taxpayers. So the provision of the funding of the Ombudsman has been amended to expunge the following: all gift items, grants, and routing the fund through the Consolidated Revenue Fund, subject to the approval of the National Assembly. This is to ensure independence of the office and remove the likelihood of bias towards any party in the execution of its functions. Expenditure of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. The committee has included additional expenses to be charged to the fund established for the Office of Ombudsman, including the cost of administration, pre-approved reimbursements to members of the board or any committee set up by the board. And paragraph 8 of the second schedule, which is also in the bill, the application of the Evidence Act. We made amendment to this provision to ensure that the provisions of Evidence Act are strictly adhered to during proceedings of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. And of course, we introduced a new provision. The committee has proposed an inclusion in the bill to provide for the funding of the Tax Appeal Tribunal through the Consolidated Revenue Fund to be appropriated by the National Assembly. This is to put an end to the current funding of the Tax Appeal Tribunal by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. This is, of course, to ensure independence and fairness. Mr. Chairman, this is my submission.
Elaborate explanation of all the key areas of concern, areas that have been amended by the committee. Without any waste of time, honorable colleagues, we can start by looking at the clauses of this very important bill. We have 159 clauses, the schedules, explanatory memoranda, and the long title. So we go ahead and start from clause 1. Clause 1, please. Clause 2. Clause 3. Clause 4. Clause 5. Clause 6. Clause 7. Clause 8. Clause 9. Clause 10. Clause 11. Clause 12. Clause 13. Clause 14, clause 15, clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, clause 20, clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, clause 25, clause 26, clause 27, clause 28, clause 29, clause 30, clause 31, clause 32, clause 33, clause 34, clause 35, clause 36, clause 37, clause 38, clause 39, clause 40, clause 41, clause 42, clause 43, clause 44, clause 45, clause 46, clause 47, clause 48, clause 49, clause 50, clause 51, clause 52, clause 53, clause 54, clause 55, clause 56, clause 57, clause 58, clause 59, the schedules, the explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. The legal frameworks relating to taxation and enact the Nigerian Tax Act to provide for taxation of income, transactions, and instruments and for related matters. At this point, it's my pleasure again to call on the chairman of the Committee on Finance to give us a synopsis of this bill.
Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, it is a great pleasure to talk about this particular bill. Some of the sections there were part of those that generated some controversies. And I am happy to say that all those controversies were resolved without any complaint. So I want to call our members to please go to page 7, and you will permit me to read all the sections so that we are all on the same page. Page 7, Nigerian Tax Administration Bill. The following amendments were proposed by the committee under this bill. Section 7, or clause 7, issuance of taxpayer ID. The timeline to issue the tax ID to taxpayers has been reviewed from the bill, from the originally proposed timeline in the bill, from 2 working days to 5 working days, to allow the tax authorities some latitude and make room for possible eventualities. Similarly, any refusal to issue a tax ID must be accompanied by reasons for such refusal to be communicated to the taxpayer. Clause 11, income tax return for companies. The time frame within which a company ceasing business is required to file its returns is reduced from 6 months to 3 months to cut potential revenue loss from non-operational businesses. Before now, in the bill, they came up with, they proposed 6 months. If a company wants to stop operation, that should give notice, it should, the timeline within which to file the required returns is 6 months. We said no. We reduced it. The committee recommended 3 months. Value-added tax. For the purpose of attribution or distribution, the committee recommended that the place of consumption of taxable supplies will be the place of consumption for taxable supplies will be irrespective of where returns are filed. In other words, all companies located in Lagos, Port Harcourt, anywhere, despite the fact that returns are filed from wherever they are located, or Plateau States, despite the fact that returns are filed from their location,
even in Jibia?
Sir?
Even if they are based in Jibia?
So, we are there presently, sir. What the bill brought for us was to open up in terms of distribution for the consumption. That was what the president felt that needed to be done. And in his proposal, the president requested that the place of consumption should be the point of the derivation of the VAT. So now we have agreed that irrespective, the clause we added is irrespective of where the returns is filed. And it's there, we have the interpretation clauses, they are all there. VAT fiscalization system. The committee included the need for further regulations by the service to get referred to the relatively new provisions of introducing a fiscalization system. Mr. Chairman, sir, the present system where companies file returns without federal revenue actually knowing whether they made that money. We want to deviate. This bill is proposing that we deviate from it. For example, Mr. Chairman, most of our supermarkets that take VAT on behalf of government, they don't remit. And when they want to remit maybe 30%. So the Federal Revenue did a practical example by going to a particular company, which I will not mention the name, and introduce their system into their own system. And they discovered that the company was actually remitting like 1/10 of what they ought to have been remitting. So we believe that if this is introduced by FRS to all commercial entities, Nigeria will start to benefit. Mr. Chairman, sir, we added in the bill before you that all companies must give access. They must give access to Nigerian Revenue Service to all their computer. In other claims, Mr. Chairman, the moment you buy an airtime in point A, it is seen by their own revenue service. But here, you buy airtime in point A or point B or even closer to the office of FRS, they don't get to know because the law does not allow them. Now we are giving them the power, if you approve, for this. So the era of underpayment, under remittance will be over, and it will lead to more revenue for Nigeria. Information to be delivered by bankers and others. An amendment was introduced to allay the concerns of taxpayers in respect of the proposed information to be provided by banks by including the language for the purpose of tax to ensure that the information is not used for the purposes other than that of which it was intended. Similarly, the qualifying threshold for reportable transactions has been increased from 25 million to 50 million. The bill came with every transaction of 25 million must be reported by the bank. The returns must be filed to Revenue Service, and we believe that it will be too cumbersome. Apart from that, so many of our local businessmen are doing more than 25 million. And so, is it that every time they have to file their returns? So we increase the threshold to 50 million for individuals, and from 100 million to 250 million in the case of corporate entities. Accreditation of tax agents. The committee has proposed the deletion of subsection 5, which implies that tax agents may be accredited by the service notwithstanding the qualification, experience, and certification of such persons. This addresses the concerns around the possibility of unqualified persons being accredited as agents. Currency of assessments and payments. Amendments made to this section ensure that tax is assessed in the currency of transaction and any liability is paid in the same currency. There were proposals that if you are assessed in US dollar, you should pay Naira as your tax. We said no. If the assessment is in US or Euro or any currency, or Shen or whatever the currencies are, you pay in that currency. And this, we believe, will assist us in our revenue. Power to distrain. Inclusion of the mandatory need for the tax authority to seek and obtain an order of the court before proceeding to sell movable assets belonging to taxpayers. The bill came with seeking our approval to sell anybody's property who refused to pay tax. And we said, no, there must be a court order for that purpose. That's the recommendation. Enforcement of powers. A new subsection has been proposed by the committee to provide for the taxpayer's obligation to provide password, access codes, and any such relevant details to access electronically stored information. This is deemed particularly important in view of the phasing out of manual storage of records and the increased volume of taxpayers' information stored electronically in computers and on the cloud. Power of the President or Governor to remit taxes. Inclusion of the need to obtain the approval of National Assembly and States, House of Assembly for federal and state taxes, respectively, where the President or Governor intends to remit. We argue on this, but we felt, let us just bring it to the floor, because we felt that there was no need to seek approval of National to remit taxes, but it's there for us. Power of the President to exempt companies from income tax. Inclusion of the need to obtain the approval of National Assembly where the President intends to exempt any person or class of income or profits from tax. In other words, if any company seeks to invest or you want to give tax credit to that person, you need to seek a National Assembly approval so that we don't continue to deplete our revenue and income. President, but yes. The power of the Accountant General to deduct at source. Similar to the above, the Accountant General is required to receive a resolution from the National Assembly in order to deduct any unremitted revenue due from MDAs. Mr. Chairman, sir, from our practice, we discovered that most of our agencies, they make revenue, but they don't remit. They spend the revenue. And unfortunately, they will claim that it is us that give them approval. We don't give such approval. So we are now saying that they must come to the National Assembly. The Accountant General has the power from by our resolution to deduct any of such money at source. Distribution of VAT revenue. For VAT purposes, a new basis for the distribution of the 55% and 35% respectively for state and local government allocation has been introduced thus. 50% to be distributed equally, 20% to be distributed based on population, 30% to be distributed based on consumption. Emphasis has also been placed on the actual place of consumption, irrespective of where the returns are filed. As, of course, as provided by stakeholders and our governors and the Governors Forum. Offenses and penalties. The committee has proposed that the interest charged as a fine for contravening the law to be at the prevailing CBN monetary policy rate, rather than the initially proposed 2% above prevailing rates. Mr. Chairman, I think that every other sections there, because they are so, the critical areas are the ones I have mentioned. Mr. Chairman, may also interest you to note that we propose for our military men and women, especially those in war fronts, that in view of what they are going through, there is no sacrifice that is too much. And we propose that their their payee, personal income tax, they be exempted from personal income tax. Henceforth, this is our submission, Chairman and honorable colleagues.
Again, for a very elaborate explanation of all the thorny areas of the bills. From what you said, you will agree with me that the committee has done a very commendable job in identifying and addressing areas that Nigerians generally complain during the public hearing. And with your kind permission, we can go ahead now and give our consent to these bills. The clauses affected as per this bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, are in respect of clauses 1 to 143, 315, 383, and 387. Those are the affected clauses. So we go ahead and take decisions on them one after the other.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, who is... raise a point of order?
Yes. Decision on that he left it to the House. So I don't know if there has been a decision, so we can clarify that.
There was no decision on what?
There was a place that he said he left it open to the House. In the
explanation made by the chairman?
By the chairman, yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Chairman, there was a position where we said that powers of the president and the governors to remit taxes. We put in the bill that they need to seek National Assembly's approval before they can remit their taxes. And after the sitting that we have done and a review, we felt that why do they need to seek our approval to remit their obligations? That remitting taxes is their natural obligation. That's why I raised the issue.
I think they mentioned that as the initial decision, but later on they cancelled and they took a position on what needs to be done. I think that's
okay,
what
very
they're
good,
saying.
sir. Very good, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, honorable colleagues, please can we proceed? Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, Clause 4, Clause 5, Clause 6, Clause 7, Clause 8,
carried.
Clause 9,
Carried.
Clause 10,
Carried.
Clause 11,
Carried.
Clause 11 to 15,
Carried.
16 to 20,
Carried.
21 to 25. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker or Mr. Chairman, my observations are on section 23.
Okay.
Where it spoke about fiscalization. The whole story is not there. There's a continuation of it in section 99. I'm raising this observation because of the fiscalization policy that is contained in this very important document. Mr. Speaker, before highlighting what is put down here, I'll have to commend the committee for removing all the issues, all the areas that have issues. We commend them for doing that. And I'll go to their recommendation, where it says, where the service deploys an electronic fiscal system, any person making a taxable supply shall use the EFS for recording and reporting all supplies. Mr. Chairman, in other laws that this Parliament has passed, more especially the Finance Act, the Karma Act, and of course the People Living with Disabilities Act, majority of them have a moratorium in those laws because of the punishable component of it, which is going to come in section 99. But here it captures where it deploys. Notwithstanding, I think I would like the chair or members to look at the possibility of having a moratorium with regards to implementing fiscalization. I'm insisting because there is a penalty that is in this law already in section 99. We'll get there. So that is my own suggestion to Honorable Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, because it is drafting, the key word there is where. Where they didn't do it, people are not liable. So where they did it, where they did the fiscalization, they are sure the technology has reached there. I think that's the key word there is where. Remove any other thing there. The question is, if they didn't deploy fiscalization or the technology to Wuse market, people will not be penalized for not declaring. But where they deploy the technology, people are liable to comply because they know the technology is present in that location. I think that's the whole idea.
Are you satisfied? Thank you very much. So, honorable colleagues, let's make progress. 26 to 30, carried. 31 to 35, carried. 36 to 40, 41 to 45, 46 to 50, 51 to 55, 56 to 60, 61 to 65, 66 to 70, 71 to 75, 76 to 80, 81 to 85, 86 to 90. Carried. 91 to 95. 96 to 100. 101 to 110. 111 to 120. 130 to 140. 141. 142. 143, 315, 383, 387, the schedules, explanatory memorandum, the long title of the bill. Thank you very much.
And that's the size of the program today. We thank you for your time. Until we come your way again with another episode, do stay patriotic and lead the change that you want to see in your own corner of the country. I am Itaire Ikben. See you next time.